When someone ignores you, it stings in places you didn't even know were still tender. It's a quiet kind of hurt. There are no harsh words, no loud arguments, just silence. And yet, that silence can speak so loudly that it echoes in the chambers of your soul. It can make you question yourself, make you wonder if you're worth anything at all. But friend, let me tell you something. When someone begins to ignore you, it's not always a curse. It's often a sign that they were never truly meant to walk the full road with you. You see, when people leave you in silence, it's not just an absence, it's a revelation. God uses absence to reveal what presence has been hiding. Sometimes we get so comfortable with someone being around that we overlook the truth. Not everyone who walks with you is walking for you. And when they fall silent, that's not the moment to fall apart. That's the moment to open your eyes. There are people who can sit at your table and eat from your hand, but never pray for your breakthrough. There are people who laugh with you, but secretly clap when you fall. There are people who keep you close, not because they love you, but because they fear what you might become without their chains. And sometimes, the only way God can set you free is by letting them ignore you. Because it's hard to walk away from someone who still speaks sweetly, but when the silence settles in, you're forced to see the truth without the noise. God doesn't just use thunder to get your attention. Sometimes, He uses stillness. When that person stops replying, stops showing up, stops checking in, it's not just their silence, it's God waving a red flag. It's not that you were too much. It's not that you weren't good enough. It's simply that your spirit has outgrown their comfort zone. And rather than confront your growth, they retreat in silence. We often beg for clarity when we already have it. We want closure, but we don't realize that silence is closure. We want a reason, a goodbye, an explanation, but not every departure will be polite. Some people won't tell you why they stopped calling. They won't explain why they faded into the background. But you don't need a speech from them when you already have a sermon from God. Their absence is your answer. Sometimes we hold on to relationships because of history, not because of health. We say, but we've known each other for years, as if years are a substitute for loyalty. But time doesn't always reveal truth. Testing does. And when the tests of life come, when you lose something, when you hurt, when you rise, when you grow, people's true hearts are exposed. Those who are only seasonal will start to ignore you when your season no longer benefits them. And that hurts, but it's also healing, because now you know who was riding with you and who was riding on you. Now you know who clapped because you succeeded and who clapped because they thought you'd failed. Now you know who loves you because of who you are, not because of what you offer. And now, with that knowledge, you're free. You're free to walk lighter. You're free to stop shrinking yourself just to keep someone from leaving. You're free to stop rehearsing conversations with people who were never going to understand you anyway. Let me tell you something that will bring you peace. People who are meant to walk with you will not ignore you. They will not play games with your heart. They will not leave you guessing about where you stand. They will not make you feel invisible when you were born to shine. When someone is truly meant to walk your road, they will show up consistently. Even if they don't have the right words, they'll still stand beside you. Love doesn't hide behind silence. Loyalty doesn't disguise itself in distance. And covenant doesn't crumble in the absence of applause. So, if someone is ignoring you right now, don't chase after them. Don't beg. Don't shrink. Don't start changing who you are just to get their attention again. You are not an interruption in someone's life. You are a divine assignment. And if they can't see that, then let them walk. Let them ignore you. Let them go. Their silence doesn't change your calling. Their absence doesn't cancel your purpose. You are still chosen, still appointed, still loved, still destined for greatness. When someone pulls away from you, when they ignore you, when they go silent, it's easy to fill the quiet with worry. Your heart starts to pace. Your mind begins to spiral. You play conversations over and over again in your head, searching for what you did wrong, what you could have said better, how you could have made them stay. But that silence you're hearing might not be punishment, it might be providence. Because sometimes, when people fall silent, it's not so you can hear them, it's so you can finally hear God. We often don't realize how much noise we carry, not just in the world around us, but in our hearts. The voices of others have a way of crowding out the voice of the one who matters most. We spend so much time checking our phones, waiting on a response, hoping for a message, scrolling through updates, chasing a voice that left us, instead of listening to the voice that's been waiting all along. It's in the stillness that heaven speaks, not in the drama, not in the chaos, not in the back and forth of human emotions. God waits until everything else fades out before he steps in, because he knows something we often forget. We won't listen until we're quiet enough to hear. We've already talked about how someone ignoring you can feel like a wound. But what if it's not a wound at all? What if it's actually a divine redirection? Sometimes their silence isn't a punishment, it's a window that opens your spirit to something deeper, something more meaningful. A moment when God whispers, "Now that you've stopped chasing them, let me show you who you really are." You see, God is not the author of confusion, but sometimes he allows people to go silent so he can start speaking clarity. When you're surrounded by constant chatter, opinions, and distractions, it's hard to hear that still, small voice that brings peace to your soul. But when the voices go quiet, when the phone stops ringing, when the attention dries up, that's when you begin to lean in. That's when your prayers become real again. That's when your ears tune to the only frequency that can calm the storm within. Many people fear silence because it forces them to confront what they've been avoiding. But friend, don't fear silence. Embrace it. Let it teach you. Let it heal you. Let it reset you. The absence of others often becomes the presence of God. The silence of people is often the invitation of heaven. You might not have their words, but you can still have his wisdom. You might not have their affirmation, but you still have his approval. You might not know why they stopped talking to you, but you can trust the one who has never stopped speaking over you. He speaks peace when the world offers panic. He speaks truth when others give you silence. And his voice never fails. Sometimes, in the middle of being ignored, you start hearing things you were too distracted to notice before. You begin to hear that nudge to let go of unhealthy attachments. You hear the whisper that reminds you that you're more than how they treated you. You start hearing the strength of your own voice, the voice you gave away while trying to keep someone else around. Silence from people will expose whether your trust was built on them or built on God. It will show you whether you were leaning on their approval or standing on his promise. When people are talking, it's easy to get caught up in their words, but when they stop, you start to remember the word that never fails. You open the Bible again. You begin to pray, not out of routine, but out of desperation. You stop performing and start listening. You may feel like you're alone, but you're not. God is not distant just because people are. He's not silent just because others are. He is near to the brokenhearted, and he draws especially close in the quiet. Don't fill the silence with worry. Fill it with worship. Don't rush to make noise. Learn to rest in the stillness. That's where he meets you. This moment of being ignored could be the most sacred moment of your life because in the hush of heartbreak, you'll finally hear your healing. In the absence of their voice, you'll finally recognize the presence of his. And what you hear from God in the silence will be stronger, deeper, and more sustaining than anything they could have ever said. When someone ignores you, it can feel like the world has suddenly shrunk around you. You start to doubt yourself. You wonder if you ever really mattered. You begin to ask, why me? What did I do wrong? But here's the truth you need to hear. When someone chooses to ignore you, it doesn't define your worth. it reveals theirs. Too often, we let other people's actions become the measure of our value. We let their silence become a judgment on who we are. But the way others treat us speaks more about their own hearts than it does about our worth. When someone looks right past you, when they act like you don't exist, that's not a verdict on your significance. That's a spotlight on their character. Think about it. A person who truly sees your worth will never ignore you. They might be busy, they might be distracted, but they won't make you feel invisible. Because when someone values you, even in their silence, their heart is still connected to yours. When they ignore you, what you're really seeing is their inability to value what they can't appreciate. Their choice to ignore you is a mirror reflecting their own limitations, fears, or selfishness. You see, some people are too small to hold the greatness you carry. They're trapped in their own insecurities and struggles. Their ignoring you is less about you and more about their own brokenness. And it's easy to get caught up in that pain. But don't mistake their silence for your failure. It's not a statement about you. It's a statement about them. There's a difference between being invisible and being ignored. Being invisible means you don't exist to someone. They have never truly known you or understood you. Being ignored means they do see you, but choose to turn away. That choice is theirs alone. It's a choice rooted in their priorities, their fears, or their unwillingness to engage. And it's not your responsibility to fix that. When someone ignores you, don't rush to fix it by changing yourself. Don't diminish your light or quiet your voice to make them comfortable. Your worth is not in their hands. It is found in the one who created you, who calls you by name, and who knows your heart better than anyone else ever will. You were made to shine, not to hide because someone refused to look. Let me remind you, God's love for you is not conditional on how many people notice you or how often they speak to you. He does not keep score of how many times you've been ignored or overlooked. His eyes are on you even when others turn away. His love remains constant even when human affection fades. When someone ignores you, it's a painful reminder that earthly love is limited, but divine love is unending. You are not designed for the approval of every person you meet. Some will walk away, some will ignore you, and some will leave you feeling small. But the value God places on you is immeasurable. When you anchor your worth in Him, the world's rejection loses its power to define you. And here's something else you need to hear. Ignoring someone is often a shield. It's a way people protect themselves from dealing with their own issues. Sometimes, ignoring you is their way of avoiding confrontation, vulnerability, or responsibility. It's easier for them to pretend you don't exist than to face the work of connection or reconciliation. You might feel hurt by their silence, but remember that silence often says more about their fears and limitations than your flaws. You don't have to carry the weight of their inability to communicate or care. Your heart is too valuable to be weighed down by their indifference. So when someone ignores you, don't ask yourself, "What's wrong with me?" Instead, ask, "What's wrong with them?" Let's explore what this silence can reveal and how you can move forward in the next step of your journey. As we've already discovered, when someone ignores you, it can hurt deeply. But remember, it doesn't define you. It's simply a moment that reveals whose opinion truly matters. So, the next time you find yourself in silence, remember that God's hand is still on you, even when human hands pull away. Your worth isn't determined by their attention, it's determined by the Creator who made you wonderfully and fearfully. In those moments when you feel overlooked, remember this: you are deeply loved by the one who sees all your struggles, all your dreams, and all your scars. You matter to Him. And because He values you beyond measure, you must learn to value yourself in the same way. Don't let someone else's silence become your silence. Don't let their ignoring you cause you to diminish yourself. Stand tall, knowing that your worth is not hidden from God, and that His purpose for your life is far too great to be derailed by human neglect. When someone ignores you, it hurts, but it doesn't define you. It only reveals whose opinion truly matters and whose doesn't. Sometimes, when someone ignores you, it feels like a door slamming shut without warning. It catches you off guard, and you begin searching for answers. You wonder, why did they pull away? What happened between us? But the silence often tells a story that words never could. It exposes a truth that was hiding beneath the surface all along. The difference between being attached and being truly aligned. There are many kinds of connections in this world. Some people come into your life because of convenience. They're attached to what you can give them, your time, your resources, your attention. They're there because it suits them at the moment, because you fill a need or a space in their life. But when that need fades or the season changes, so does their presence. Their attachment was conditional, tied to benefit, not belief. Alignment, on the other hand, is far deeper. Alignment means walking the same path with purpose and conviction. It means hearts connected by more than circumstance, bonded by shared values and vision. When you are aligned with someone, their support doesn't waver with the wind of change. Their presence is steady, unwavering, because it's rooted in commitment, not convenience. When someone suddenly withdraws or ignores you, it reveals where they stood all along. It shows whether their connection was merely attachment or true alignment. If they disappear when things get hard, when you grow beyond what they expected, or when you no longer serve their needs, it means they were never truly aligned with your journey. They were only attached to what you represented to them at the time. It's painful to realize that some people were not walking alongside you, but merely riding your journey. They were passengers, not partners. And the moment the ride became bumpy or no longer profitable, they stepped off. Their silence, their withdrawal, is a mirror reflecting their own limitations and lack of loyalty. But here's the beautiful part. When those who are only attached leave, it clears the way for those who are aligned to step in. It creates space for relationships that are built on mutual respect, shared vision, and genuine love. It frees you from the weight of false expectations and invites you to walk with those whose footsteps match your own. This separation is not a punishment, it's a provision. It's God's way of pruning your life so that only what will bear fruit remains. It's a refining process that removes the distractions and drains so your purpose can flourish. The silence from those who are only attached is a sign that God is preparing you for a deeper, more meaningful connection, one that will sustain you in seasons of both plenty and drought. When you understand this, the pain of being ignored begins to lose its power. You start to see it as a gift rather than a loss. You realize that not everyone who came close was meant to stay close. Some people entered your story as lessons, not lifers. Their departure teaches you about discernment, about guarding your heart, about valuing alignment over attachment. And this discernment brings freedom, freedom from chasing approval, freedom from trying to force relationships that were never meant to be, and freedom from wearing yourself thin for people who never intended to stand beside you. When you embrace this truth, you no longer question your worth when someone ignores you. You simply acknowledge that they were never aligned with your destiny. Remember, your journey is too sacred to be crowded by those who only want to benefit from it. It's too important to waste energy on people who don't have the heart to walk it with you. When they leave, it's a signal to focus on those who are willing to endure the long road with you, through the ups and downs, the victories, and the struggles. So, when you find yourself ignored or abandoned, don't see it as a sign of failure. See it as a sign of separation between attachment and alignment. And trust that this separation is necessary for your growth and for the fulfillment of the plan God has for your life. You're not losing anything that was meant for you. You're simply being released from what was never meant to stay. And in that release, you'll find peace, clarity, and the strength to keep moving forward. When someone ignores you, it cuts deep. The silence can feel like a wound that won't heal. It's natural to feel hurt, to wonder if you're less, because they've turned away. But here's a truth that can change everything. Being ignored, though painful, often pushes you towards your purpose. It forces you to grow in ways you wouldn't have if everything had stayed easy and comfortable. Pain has a strange way of shaping us. It carves out the space where strength begins to form. When someone turns their back, when their attention fades, you're left standing in a quiet room with your own thoughts, your own dreams, and your own God. And in that quiet, you find a well of strength you never knew you had. Think about the times in your life when things felt impossible, when doors closed, when opportunities slipped away, when people walked out instead of in. Those were the moments that shaped your character. Those were the moments that taught you resilience. And those were the moments when you learned to depend not on human approval, but on God's unwavering love and purpose for your life. As we wrap up this chapter of your journey, remember that every silent moment is an invitation for you to lean into your faith, trust in God's plan, and grow into the person you are meant to become. As we wrap up this journey, remember that when someone ignores you, it's easy to feel lost or insignificant. But in reality, this silence is often a sign of something far deeper. It's not just emptiness, it's a moment to reflect, to grow, and to trust in God's timing. The truth is, the most important validation doesn't come from others. It comes from within, from the one who created you with purpose and intention. When people ignore you, it strips away distractions and forces you to face yourself. And while that can be frightening, it can also be incredibly freeing. Why? Because it means you're no longer living for their approval. You're starting to live for your purpose. It's in these quiet, solitary moments that you discover who you truly are, beyond the expectations and opinions of others. You may feel alone when ignored, but you are not alone in your journey. God sees every tear you shed, hears every unspoken prayer, and understands every ache in your heart. He uses these times of loneliness to draw you closer, to teach you lessons that only solitude can reveal. It's in these moments that you build a foundation strong enough to carry you through whatever lies ahead. Being ignored can push you to discover hidden talents, passions, and gifts that were once buried beneath the need for external validation. Without the applause of others to rely on, you begin to listen to the quiet voice inside the voice that whispers of your destiny, your calling, and your unique purpose in this world. And that voice? It's louder and truer than any crowd's cheer. The journey toward purpose is not always easy. It requires persistence, faith, and sometimes walking through seasons of silence. But those seasons are not empty. They are full of growth. They stretch you, mold you, and prepare you to step into what God has planned for you. The pain of being ignored is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a greater chapter. Remember, some of the most powerful stories of success and breakthrough began with silence and rejection. The ones who ignored the noise of the world, who refused to be defined by the absence of others, are the ones who changed history. They used their pain as fuel, their silence as a classroom, and their setbacks as stepping stones. So if you're feeling ignored today, don't let that silence steal your hope. Let it push you forward. Let it drive you to work harder, dream bigger, and trust deeper. Your purpose is waiting on the other side of this pain. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. And the God who has carried you this far will carry you all the way through. Keep going, keep believing, keep growing. Because sometimes the greatest blessings come wrapped in the pain of being ignored. When someone ignores you, your first impulse may be to chase after them, to call, to text, to seek answers, to demand attention. But chasing after them only pulls you further away from the peace and purpose that God wants for you. The real strength comes not in the noise of pursuit, but in the quiet power of growing in silence. When you stop needing validation from others, when you stop begging for someone's presence, you begin to walk in freedom, a freedom that changes everything. There's a profound lesson in learning to be silent in the face of rejection. It's not about giving up or surrendering to defeat. It's about rising above the chaos of emotions and stepping into a place of calm and confidence. When you stop reacting to being ignored, you reclaim your power. You stop allowing other people's neglect to control your feelings or your future. Growing in silence means trusting God's timing and His plan, even when the world around you seems cold or distant. It means embracing solitude, not as loneliness, but as a sacred space for growth. When others go quiet, you can fill that space with prayer, reflection, and renewal. You begin to hear the voice of God more clearly because you are no longer distracted by the noise of human drama. There is strength in stillness. The Bible tells us, "Be still and know that I am God." This stillness is not weakness. It is the strength that comes from resting in His sovereignty. When you learn to be silent in your pain, you open the door to divine wisdom. You begin to see your situation from a higher perspective. You learn patience, perseverance, and peace. Sometimes, silence is the best response to being ignored. It protects your heart from unnecessary pain and preserves your dignity. It gives you the chance to heal without the pressure of explanation or apology from others. In that silence, you find your true voice, the voice that does not depend on others to speak, but is rooted in the confidence of who you are in God. This journey is not easy. It requires discipline and faith. It requires you to resist the urge to fill every empty space with noise. But when you embrace silence, you begin to grow stronger, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. You develop a resilience that cannot be shaken by anyone's neglect or rejection. And as you grow in silence, you attract people who respect your peace and honor your worth. You no longer settle for those who ignore you or take you for granted. Instead, you surround yourself with those who value your presence and encourage your growth. Your silence becomes a filter, separating the distractions from the genuine connections. Remember, silence is not emptiness. It is fullness, waiting to be revealed. It is the soil where your faith takes root and blossoms. It is the space where God prepares you for greater things. When you learn to be silent in the face of being ignored, you are not alone. You are standing with the strength of the one who never ignores you, who sees your pain, and who promises to never leave you. So do not chase after those who walk away. Do not cry out for those who choose silence. Instead, embrace the silence as a sacred sign to grow, to wait, and to trust. In that silence, you will find the peace that passes all understanding, and that peace will carry you through whatever lies ahead. Hold on to that peace. Don't miss out on valuable lessons from God. Subscribe to our channel and join us on this meaningful journey.